everyone, welcome back. I've got another instalment of my Battle of the Drugstore Under Eye Concealer review series, and today we're doing Revlon's Colour Stay. As the variants, just to keep them fair and the same, I'm using the same e.l.f. Flawless Concealer brush and my finger to blend out. To set, I'm using the Real Techniques setting brush and also the Rimmel Stay Matte powder, and I'm using it in translucent at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to do a review on this just like I usually do and rate it out of 10 at the end. And I'm going to do as many check-ins as I possibly can with you. So if you'd like to see how I get on with this concealer, just keep watching. Usually I like to use these concealers a little bit longer before doing these sorts of reviews on them, before putting them in the battle. And usually I don't like to do the sort of first impressions at the same time. In this instance, I'm just too excited to use this concealer. So it's the Revlon Colour Stay, as you probably know if you've seen it in the description bar. There was a shade lighter than this that I could have had. But excuse me, I'm just trying to get the packaging off. I think it was Fair. Yeah, 01 Fair is the lightest, but this one I got is 02 Light. I'm really hoping it's not too dark for me, but the Fair one just looked really light, and I know a lot of people love that sort of highlighted under eye effect. I personally have a little bit of discoloration under my eyes, and so I feel like it's not as flattering to go for such a highlighted shade. I like the applicator, it's a doe foot. I love the fact I'm not having to faff around squeezing out of a tube, and I can use the doe foot to clean up the edges of my makeup, my eyeshadow. I find with this it's very creamy. It feels quite emollient, doesn't feel thick at all. I wouldn't say light, probably sort of medium. So it's giving me time to work with it. I probably should have done one eye at a time, not having ever used the product before. When I was looking at the shade before I put it on my eyes, I was worried. I know I say this a lot, but because I have neutral undertones, I can tell if something's got a little bit of olive in it, and I was worried to look at it that it was going to be a little bit too olive. I can tell that by the fact it doesn't look brightening to look at it swatched or to look at the colour, if that makes sense, because tones with a little bit more pink in or a little bit more yellow in usually look like they're going to be brightening. This didn't look like it was going to be brightening at all, and so I did think the shade was going to have too much olive in, as foundations usually do come up like green on me if they're not leaning towards one or the other. This I'm not sure about the shade. I think it's definitely a neutral. It's definitely not, in my opinion, leaning more towards pink or yellow. It's a very light coverage. I expected it to be a good coverage because although I haven't tried it, the Revlon Colour Stay foundation is notorious for having a great coverage. I don't know if it's just the lights, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's actually concealed right in here. I'd have to check it in natural light, which I will, and come back and let you know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set one side, because last time I had a concealer that I didn't feel like gave me enough coverage, I put another layer on, and then people were saying, well, that's why it was creasing, which is a very good point. So I'm going to set my left side. And then I'm going to put one more layer on the right side, just so we can compare how each side performs. I know I might look a little bit crazy with one eye more concealed than the other, but I'm prepared to do that. Just put a tiny bit in there to see if that's going to make me feel happier about the coverage. It doesn't necessarily feel like it can be layered. We'll see if it's buildable. If it's buildable, because it's so emollient. I feel like one layer would just melt into the other, if that makes sense, but we'll see. Might be wrong. Yeah, I would say that is buildable. I was wrong. So yeah, it is buildable, which is great. It doesn't feel film forming, because I find those to be the least buildable, because obviously they set and then you put more on, it's sort of cakey. So yeah, that's not at the moment, I've got to set it first, it's not caking up, and it's looking much better with 2 layers, in my opinion. You can definitely, even on camera, I can definitely see a massive difference between this side and this side. So I'm just going to set that. And okay, so that's set, and I'm just going to come back after I've done the rest of my makeup. I've finished off my makeup and I've examined it, and I'm really happy with it so far. Obviously I've only had it on for like 10-15 minutes, but it hasn't settled into my fine lines and wrinkles, which I really did expect it to on this side. As you can quite clearly see, I mean, let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I think you can quite clearly see how much more brighter it is on this side. So yeah, I'm really happy that I put on another layer, and that extra layer doesn't appear to be sitting cakey heavy or looking any different in finish to the other side. It's just increased the coverage. So I'll try and report back in the midday and then at the end of the day as usual, guys, and yeah, keep tuned for that. So we're about halfway through the day. It's been about 5.5 hours, and I'm happy with it. It's not absolutely perfect, but I'm not looking for perfection, so it's fine. I can notice there is a slight bit more creasing on the under the eye where I put 2 layers, as opposed to the eye with 1 layer, but not really. Not enough to put me off putting 2 layers on. I still prefer the look of the side that has 2 layers on. What I'm going to do, I know I haven't done this in previous videos, but I'm going to keep this eye as a comparison to the other concealers for the battle. But for this side, just out of interest, I'm just curious to see if it's the type of concealer that you could touch up during the day. So I'm just going to put a little bit extra on underneath this eye. I do like the packaging, I've got to say. It's very convenient, you know, convenient for a makeup bag, nice and sleek and simple. You know, it doesn't look luxurious, but it's fine, it's a concealer. And I'm just going to blend that in a bit. Now I have retouched up my lipstick. I've actually changed the colour because I wasn't a big fan of the combo of the last lipstick I had on. So I've touched that up, and I've also touched some powder up around my smile lines and chin and nose, but I haven't touched the concealer at all for the sake of the review. So, okay. So I've touched up the concealer. It's not looking as fresh as first application, but again, you expect that. And I'm going to use a different powder. This one I find is fine for under eyes, although it is a bit heavier than Rimmel Stay Matte, so it sets a little bit better. I like it for under the eyes. I've actually realised after, but I've already done so many other concealers using the Rimmel powder, I want to keep it consistent, but I actually prefer this one personally for using for setting under eye concealer. It's the collection's Lasting Perfection, and I've got mine in Fair. So I've covered up this eye with that, and I just want to see if the creasing is any better with a different powder. But on this side I have left it exactly as it is for comparison to the other concealers. So I'll just come up close and show you. And yeah, I'll try and well, I have to really, as it would be a bit of not a wasted footage. I'm going to come up at the end and show you how we're getting on. Hi everyone, I'm coming back to tell you the end of the day. I say end of the day, honestly it's only 6 o'clock, but that is on for a good 9 hours. So I've had a look. I don't know if you can tell on camera, it sort of does something that my I said the Bourjois Healthy Mix sort of did, whereas you can see the definition between where the concealer ends and the foundation begins, which may actually be the foundation, not the concealer. It's hard to tell. I do think it looks a little bit cakey, but again that's to be expected because this one, they both had 2 layers. The powder I used to set this side has not made any difference at all. There's still the same level of creasing, which is just a tiny bit, not too bad. I would say it looks a little bit ashy right now, just because I don't prefer the colour to the Maybelline Fit Me. I would say I like it a little bit less than that, so I'm going to give this concealer a 6. I'm not sure if it's going to get worse as the day goes on, but I think 9 hours is a fair test, so I'm going to stick with a 6. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it useful, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you did, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Bye!